We had a fascinating interview last night on Rachel Maddow's program with Donald Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Now, I don't really watch MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News other than services that will sort of clip notable things for me that I might want to talk about on the program. I haven't seen Rachel Maddow's show in years. I think the last time I saw it was when she had that episode about, we have Trump's taxes, but it was like a 15-year-old page one of a 1040 or something like that. Last night's interview that Rachel Maddow did with Michael Cohen is fascinating. And there's a ton of great material in the interview. I encourage you to check out the entire interview if it's interesting to you. But I want to focus in on one thing today, which is Michael Cohen predicted yesterday something we've been talking about for a while. By we, I don't mean, with the audience, it's been in the ether for a while, which is the idea that if Donald Trump loses to Joe Biden in November, sometime between November and January 20th, Donald Trump will resign in order to make Mike Pence president, in order for Mike Pence to preemptively issue a blanket pardon for Donald Trump. We've been talking about this for a while. Callers regularly ask about it and suggest it. Here is Michael Cohen saying he believes that that is exactly what Donald Trump will do if he loses to Joe Biden in November.
But you say at the very end of the book that the president and Attorney General William Barr ousted the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York and tried to install effectively the president's golfing buddy as the new U.S. attorney there because the president, in your view, wanted to arrange for himself to be indicted while he's still in office, because that would give him the opportunity to pardon himself after he lost the election. I just wanted to make sure that I understand the point that you're making there. Just ask you to elaborate on that a little bit, because I'm not sure I understand.
My theory is that if he loses, there's still the time between the election and the time that the next president would take office. And during that time, my suspicion is that he will resign as president. He will allow Mike Pence to take over, and he will then go ahead and have Mike Pence pardon him. And it's a very, let's just say, it's a very Nixon type of event. And it was probably discussed between Roger Stone and President Trump at some point, that this is certainly one way to avoid any potential prison time.
So there's a few thoughts here. There's actually a big legal question here. And often we hear this kind of flat conventional wisdom that pardons apply only to federal prosecution. Presidential pardons apply only to federal prosecution, but not to state prosecutions. And that as such, Mike Pence can't protect Donald Trump from state prosecution. The counter argument is that some believe a blanket preemptive pardon would cover state prosecutions. The counter to that would be, well, there was the idea that that was the case with the Richard Nixon pardons, but it was never actually challenged in court because charges were not actually brought. So we don't really know. There really isn't judicial precedent in terms of the legality or the reality of a preemptive pardon. Does it cover potential state charges or does it not? It's a debate is the point. The other important counter or factor is when we talk about Richard Nixon's crimes, they were much narrower in scope than all of the different stuff that Trump has been colloquially accused of. And they really only took place when Nixon was president. With Donald Trump, we're talking about myriad crimes, including crimes allegedly committed before Donald Trump became president anyway. And the idea would be preemptive pardon or not, it's going to be much more difficult for Mike Pence to preemptively get Trump out of trouble definitively. That's sort of one aspect of this. The other important aspect of this entire discussion is that clearly the time between Election Day and Inauguration Day could be very dangerous if Donald Trump does lose. Now, that I have been saying for a long time and warning people about. And we need to account for that in thinking about how durable are our institutions. How prepared is Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and all other aspects of this country to deal with what might be armed Trump supporters in the streets between November 3rd and January 20th if Trump loses and convinces his followers that this thing was rigged. The most important thing here is Trump would rather just win than to have to deal with even this idea of Should I resign and Pence pardoning me? So because Trump would rather just win, he's going to do anything he can think of to win fairly or unfairly. And yes, our blood should be boiling about what's going on. And yes, Donald Trump must be at least somewhat scared of what might happen if he does lose. But he is going to try to solve a personal problem by disenfranchising you. That's where the Postal Service stuff comes from. That's where delegitimizing the trustworthiness of the election is coming from. That's where all of this is coming from. So bottom line, I can't see Donald Trump simply accepting defeat. I don't imagine that if Biden wins, I was looking at one scenario where Biden gets 289 electoral. I can't imagine that with Biden at 289, Trump just says, I concede. Thanks, guys. I lost. I think in the event of a Biden landslide, Trump will come up with something to say. He's going to start writing executive orders, declaring the results suspect and trying to postpone a transition. I don't know. He's at least going to say something about it. If it's close, he will do everything he can to use lawyers to stop the counting of absentee ballots. He's going to try something. I believe he will eventually go if he loses, but he's going to try something, and we have to make sure that we are prepared for it. As I said earlier, I don't know if Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are prepared for it. I hope they are. One of our sponsors today is Vincero Watches, and they're giving you up to 30% off everything in their store when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. If you're looking for an awesome way to update your look, the perfect way to do it is with an elegant, high-quality wristwatch. When there's a company like Vincero, there is no reason to go spending thousands of dollars on a watch. Vincero is an American company that's made it possible to own an excellent watch without breaking the bank. All of their watches are masterfully built with high-end materials, but they're all in the range of about $150 to $250. I just got a watch from their Icon Automatic collection. The one I got is in gunmetal and slate blue. I love the look. It's sleek, classy. It's clear that a lot of careful craftsmanship went into the design. It is definitely my new favorite watch. You'll get up to 30% off everything in their store when you go to davidpakman.com/watch. I've put the link right underneath this video.